So, you wanna grow on YouTube?
Then you need to be consistent.
Okay, cool. But how? We've all heard the advice at this point. Posting consistently is key to success on YouTube. But how do you actually implement that advice? What I've learned is you need to treat YouTube like a habit. Just like brushing your teeth or going for your silly little walk for your silly little mental health, you build up habits over time and eventually they become second nature. And that's the beauty of the 5 habits that I'm gonna be sharing with you today. Once you start doing them and you practice them over and over again, it does get easier. It starts to feel natural. And once you start implementing these habits, posting on YouTube will start to feel like a normal part of your everyday life instead of a gargantuan task that you feel the need to procrastinate on. Habit number 1. I do regular brainstorming sessions and keep a content ideas database. One barrier to consistency that a lot of creators struggle with is not having any ideas when it comes time to sit down and actually film your videos. If you don't have a system in place, then chances are there have been times, most likely when you're just about to fall asleep or when you're taking a shower, that you have the most incredible ideas for your YouTube channel. Darn it, I gotta write that down. But then when you actually have some spare time on a weekend and you're ready to sit down and film your videos, your mind is totally blank. Well, this first habit is designed to address that exact problem. I try to schedule regular brainstorming sessions for myself, and I even put them in my Google Calendar so I don't forget. If you're new here and we haven't met yet, first of all, hi, I'm Katie. Second of all, I am super type A and I love to be organized. So if you've watched my videos, you know I am all about Google Calendar. I'm all about Notion databases. I write down everything. And I know it might seem nerdy, but seriously, it really, really helps when it comes to implementing these habits and staying consistent. Okay, so during these brainstorming sessions, I write down all of the ideas that I have for my YouTube channel and I add them to my little Notion database. If I'm feeling like I don't have a lot of ideas, then I love to go into YouTube Studio. Under the analytics section, if you click on audience and scroll down, you'll find there's a little panel that shows you other channels that your audience watches, and below that, other videos that your audience is watching. And this can be a treasure trove of ideas for stuff that you can post that most likely your subscribers are gonna like. I personally find it really insightful to see what other channels show up there because it kind of encourages me like, oh, maybe I could try out doing these types of formats or these types of videos because, you know, clearly people like it. Aside from just what shows up in my analytics, I just like to browse through channels that I really admire, specifically channels that I like to watch that don't have anything to do with my niche or subject matter. And I take a look at which of their videos I really enjoyed watching and which of their titles and thumbnails really call to me. And I can use that as a jumping off point to come up with my own videos. And this is why I really stress it's important to find inspiration in creators that do something totally different than you, because you don't want to copy people. So for example, I might go to a fashion creator's account and I see one of their videos is like 5 style mistakes that you can fix with this one change to your wardrobe. And I'm like, that's a really compelling title. Like, I want to click on that. That's really intriguing to me. So based on that inspiration, I might come up with a video for my own channel that's like 5 YouTube growth mistakes that you can fix with this one strategy. So that's just an example of how you can take inspiration from other creators without copying them, and you can truly put your own unique spin on them. So I add all of these ideas to my content calendar database in Notion. I have a page that's designed for just inputting ideas where I haven't scheduled them yet. And I keep this easily accessible on my Notion desktop app, on my phone, so that I can add to it if I do have a random shower thought. By the way, if you're intrigued by any of the Notion templates that I've been showing you, you can actually check out my content calendar one and more in my content creator Notion template bundle. I'll link it in the description. This way, I always have ideas available to me when I'm actually ready to start my content creation process, which brings us to habit number 2. I developed a weekly content creation schedule that suits my actual life. I think so often when aspiring YouTube creators get started, we think about ourselves as a YouTuber as like our dream self. You think about, oh, someday when I have 100,000 subscribers, someday when I post consistently on YouTube and I'm successful. And we always kind of pin those ideas to our someday selves. And so it ends up being really easy to make your plans and strategies based on that someday self rather than who you actually are right now. And so that's why our commitments and our plans can become unrealistic really quickly because we're just thinking about that someday self. But you'll never get to that someday self if you don't make plans that are realistic to you now. So for example, if you know yourself and you know that you're not gonna wake up at 8 a.m. on a Saturday morning to film your YouTube video every week, then don't plan on that. Don't build that into your strategy because it's not gonna happen. You need to create a plan based on what you'll realistically actually do. This is something that I actually really figured out for myself recently, and it has really helped. For a while, I felt like I was struggling against just the world to get my YouTube videos made every week. It was like every potential obstacle was coming up and it felt so frustrating. But what I realized was I just needed to adjust my filming and like creation schedule a little bit to make it work with the typical weekly routines of my life. So this is what my content creation schedule used to look like. Every Monday, I would script my videos. On Tuesday, I would film them. On Wednesday and Thursday, I would work on editing them. And then on Friday, I would send them in for review for my brand sponsors. But I would always be kind of scrambling and disheveled trying to get this done like 2 weeks in advance because I wanted to send my videos for review a week before they were posted, but I post every Tuesday. So I'd be sending them like the Friday before the Tuesday, and it was all just very chaotic. And on top of that, I was trying to balance my filming time in and amongst my partner Dan's Zoom meeting schedule because we both work from home in this 500 square foot, essentially studio apartment. See, the walls of my apartment don't even go all the way to the ceiling. So obviously if I'm over here, you're gonna hear me talking on Zoom calls. And so obviously I cannot be filming while he's on a Zoom call, and it always felt like Tuesdays were his busiest freaking day for Zoom calls. And when I realized that I was kind of fighting against all of this stuff just for the sake of having my creation process cleanly fit into 1 week, like script to submit, one video within a week, I was so attached to that I was making life more difficult for myself. So I made this slight adjustment where now on Mondays, I edit my video. On Tuesdays, I submit it for brand review a week in advance of when it's gonna be posted. On Wednesdays, I start the process fresh by scripting my next video, and then on Fridays, I film. And it all feels like the world has come into alignment because Fridays is Dan's quietest day for Zoom meetings. Tuesdays is when I post my videos anyway, so then I only have to make them 1 week in advance instead of like 2.5 or whatever. And so all is right in the world with this new production schedule. Of course, your schedule is gonna be unique to your situation. Maybe mine doesn't make sense for you to adopt. The point is, think about what you already have going on in your life and when it is going to be easiest for you to create. When we try to force ourselves into these ideal schedules or ideal scenarios, we just make life more difficult and we make being consistent more difficult. Like I said at the beginning, being consistent on YouTube is a habit. And the number one rule about habit building is you need to make those habits easy for yourself, because if you make them difficult, it's just human nature, we're gonna avoid doing them. But if you make it so easy that it's literally easier for you to do your habit than to not, you're gonna be consistent. It's just gonna happen. And I personally really like the structure of having a certain day assigned to a certain task within the YouTube creation process, even though I don't need the full day on Wednesday to script. It might be like an hour or two out of everything else that I'm doing in my day, but I know that it's happening on Wednesday, so I know that I'm gonna do it. So maybe you would also find that helpful, like have it assigned to a certain day, and then you could like know in your bones, Wednesday is scripting day, Friday is filming day, and that really helps you make it happen. Habit number 3, I keep my tools accessible. Nothing stops your creative juices flowing more than having to dig to the back of your closet to find your camera and tripod, or worse, picking up that camera, turning it on, and realizing that the battery is dead. I have been through that my fair share of times, so I found a solution to make sure that all of my gear is readily accessible and ready to go when I want to film. And trust me, you don't need a whole fancy studio setup to do this. Let me show you my setup. Welcome to my gear cabinet. This is just 2 shelves underneath this IKEA TV stand. And this is where I keep everything that I have, all of my gear. I've organized it just in these bins from the dollar store, and my friend Sarah made these labels so I can keep everything organized. And I think it looks pretty cute. In addition to these bins where I keep all these general kind of accessories and stuff, I have this section of the shelf where I keep my cameras. So I've got lenses back there. Right now the ZV-1 is sitting there, but the ZV-E10, which I'm filming with right now, would also live there when, you know, I'm not actively filming. Got a bin for all my microphones and audio gear, for my hard drives, for my action cameras. On the other half of this cabinet over here, it's definitely messier, but that's where I have my charging station among our Nintendo Switch and all that stuff. But we've got a power bar on that side of the cabinet. So I always have my battery chargers plugged in with all of the batteries plugged in as well. So everything is always charged when I need it. And as soon as one of my batteries dies, it goes back down there to charge. That way I always know my camera is easy to grab and my batteries are always fully charged. Habit number 4, I organize my resources. In addition to keeping all of my physical gear organized and easily accessible, it's also important that I keep all of my digital resources organized and accessible. This includes having a file organization structure so I can always find the clips that I need. If I need to go back to an older video, I can easily find that. And I have a Premiere Pro project template so that I can easily open it up and I have all the titles, transitions, and all that stuff that I need to quickly and efficiently edit a video. Here's what that looks like. I get a lot of questions about my file organization system, so I wanted to just give you a very brief tour. So I store everything on external hard drives. This is what they look like. So I have two, one's for my vlog channel and one is for everything else, like all my main work stuff. So let me give you a tour of the work hard drive. So we'll go into the SSD and you can see that I've got, you know, general folders for all my different projects. Let's go into YouTube because that's probably what you're most interested in. So here I have folders for each month, January, February, March, April, and so on. And then I also have folders for all my thumbnails, and then this larger folder for different assets. So inside the assets folder, I have animations, I have B-roll that I've shot of myself or that I've, you know, got stock footage of. I've saved different like emojis so that I can easily pull those into Premiere. I have all of my music, and this is organized by like the platforms that I've got it from, the year that I downloaded it, so I can easily kind of find that. And I've got some static graphics that I use a lot, like this highlight, you know, like an iPhone frame, that sort of thing. So I have this all stored here so I can really easily find it. If I'm like, oh yeah, I want to do a graphic where like an iPhone pops up on the screen, I can find that. Okay, so inside April, you can see I've labeled my video folders based on the number of video that they are in the year. So if we go back to January, you can see we've got 1 through 10 in this folder. But yeah, from April, we've got 19 through 24, and inside each folder, we've got all of the footage, special music that I maybe downloaded for it, and other graphics. Here's another example. So you can see I've got lots of screen recordings, lots of screenshots, and lots of footage, and also audio clips. I create a new Premiere Pro project for each month so that I don't have to do it every single time, but it's based on my template, which I store the master copy of the template out here in the main YouTube folder. This access to digital resources also includes having all the subscriptions that I need signed in and ready to go. So I've got an Adobe Creative Cloud subscription. I edit in Premiere Pro, as well as my go-to resource for all of the stock media that you need for your YouTube videos, Storyblocks. Storyblocks is a stock media library that creators can access with either a monthly or an annual subscription. I love it because you pay one fee and you can get all of the files that you need, including stock footage, animation templates, sound effects, and so much more. It's literally everything that you might need to make your video more engaging and more professional. I personally use Storyblocks all the time over on my travel channel. You can find a ton of great aerial footage. So if you want drone footage of Rome or of the canals of Venice, or even a time lapse of Paris at night, you can find that. You just have to search for it. I also use Storyblocks a lot for like textures and graphics that you see in these videos. So I love this kind of like paper stop motion background. And I also use this film flicker effect on a lot of my title cards just to add a little bit of spice. These are both from Storyblocks. You can find lots of great stuff like this on Storyblocks. And I love how Storyblocks has an unlimited model, so you pay one subscription and you can download as much as you want. It's way better than pay-per-clip systems where you're paying for every single piece of B-roll you want. It's just so nice to have one subscription and download whatever you need. You can get everything that you need to make your videos awesome with just one subscription over on Storyblocks. So make sure you check out the link in my description to go ahead and sign up. And thanks again to Storyblocks for sponsoring this video. Habit number 5, I take time offline to recuperate and get inspired again. It's so important as a creator to take some time away from your projects. I find for me, it's so refreshing even just to watch YouTube for fun. I think for a long time, I got to this point where I was only ever watching YouTube for like research and trying to figure out, what my competition were posting about. And eventually I got to the point where I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna watch videos in my niche anymore. I didn't feel like it was necessarily helping me, and yeah. So I intentionally just kind of watch stuff on YouTube that is not at all related to my work, and I just find it interesting, like the aforementioned fashion channel, and I also love watching channels about history and urban design and like whatever it is the Vlogbrothers are talking about. So I really try to follow creators that are completely outside of my niche, and I also try to find hobbies that are completely unrelated to social media and being online. Currently for me, that looks like trying to do yoga as often as possible, and I'm also taking online Spanish classes. These are things that help me feel fulfilled outside of just the numbers that I see in YouTube Studio, and I think it's so important to hang on to that, especially if you get to the point like me where YouTube becomes your full-time job. So it just kind of feels like it's a measure of your worth, and that's not a healthy place to be in. So by finding these extracurriculars that can also give you fulfillment and joy and that sense of progress and improvement, I think that's really important for your mental health. So those are the habits that you need to stay consistent on YouTube. If you are ready to not only be consistent, but also up-level the quality of your videos and really start to grow a community, then you're gonna wanna check out this video next, where I talk about how you can really make high-quality vlogs, including improving those storytelling skills, which is really the most essential, but also some tips about the gear you can use to help you out on that journey. So check out that video next, and as always, thank you so much for watching. I hope that you're having adventures and following your dreams, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.